It's time for us to really step into the worth that we have and that we're contributing into our families and our societies. And it starts with us, because when we begin to notice that value, that the fact that we listen to people for hours on end and really allow them to dive deeper into their truth, or we're able to help people feel safe and seen, or that we're able to take something in shambles and turn it into art, that is so valuable. And when we begin to value ourselves, society follows. Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so grateful to be reconnected with you in this lifetime. If you're here all the time, I wanted to drop into another spiritual download that I have really been receiving for the past couple of weeks. And I recently did an Instagram reel about it, which so many people resonated with. So I wanted to bring this conversation onto the podcast where we can kind of dive into it a little bit deeper. And that is this myth of sacrifice, this idea, this unspoken idea that so many of us, but especially women, people who are in the more feminine role in their families, are really subconsciously forced to operate from. And this is that idea that if you put everyone's needs before your own, you are a good girl. You will be safe. You will be loved. You will be appreciated. You know, it starts when we are very young, and I'm going to be mostly speaking into the feminine woman's experience, but feel free to use whatever terminology works for you. But as young girls, we have been conditioned to care about what other people feel. We became so attuned to our caregivers' needs, to our friends' needs. And again, we were given that pat on the head when we took care of our younger siblings, or we helped clean the house, or, we did these things that were seen as adults-like. So many of us as young girls kind of became little moms, and we looked at our moms who were told they were a good mother when they put everyone's needs before their own, but also carried this resentment around it. I know my mother and many mothers had other dreams. They had other aspirations that they wanted to do, but there was this expectation that to be a good woman, to be a good mother, to be a good wife, you must put everyone's needs before your own. And then that eventually just creates a life of resentment. So we were conditioned and brought into this. How can I make everyone around me feel good, and therefore I will be loved? Let me know if this is resonating so far. So this conditioning makes us feel guilty about putting our needs, let alone desires, first. Think about Thanksgiving dinner or any other big holiday. We often see it's the mother who's spending days before buying groceries and taking care of the house and cleaning things. And then that whole day cooking and making sure that the plates look beautiful and everything is nice and the people feel welcome. They have their drinks and this and that. And then when it's time to actually sit down and enjoy the meal, she can't even pause. She needs to be back in the kitchen. She needs to be making sure everyone on the table has what they need. That even if it's time to take a picture, I didn't have any time to get ready. I don't look good. So again, it's that putting other people's needs. And then what happens after the Thanksgiving dinner? You're resentful. So we have seen this again and again. Our mothers, our grandmothers, this has been going on for the past several thousand years. And, it hasn't always been this case. And I'll speak a little bit more into how this understanding of the feminine role actually came post-patriarchy. So it's not extremely ancient. It's actually in the past 2,000 or so years post this patriarchal understanding that came with the rise of Abrahamic religions. But right now, our more recent ancestors have been operated from this unspoken expectation that women must take care of the house and kids that is still in our society today, even as women are working. So how many times in your own household, when there are dishes that need to be unloaded or laundry that needs to be done or groceries that need to be brought in or any of these little things, taking care of your pets, making sure your kids have lunch, it naturally tends to fall upon the woman's plate, even if the man is not a patriarchal person, but it's just this subconscious conditioning that, well, that's a woman's role. So women are carrying a lot of unspoken and unacknowledged burden in households that men simply aren't even aware of. If someone needs something, it tends to go towards the woman. And again, at this time, women also are working corporate jobs. They are out in the world creating businesses. They are essentially working just as many hours, if not more than men. But on top of that, they have this unacknowledged burden, this workload at home that they are just expected to carry. However, this has not always been the case. So we have been fed lies in our school system when we read these history textbooks that say, well, women have always just stayed home or been in the village just collecting fruits and berries, and the men were out there fighting the wars and hunting and taking care of the household. But actually, if you look at the nutrition, the calories that were coming into the hunter-gatherers' families and villages, you would see that the women who were gathering nuts and berries actually accounted for 90% of the family's calories. So 90% of the calories of the actual sustenance that kept people alive came from the woman. Only 10% actually came from the men who were going out there and hunting. Yes, we acknowledge that the men naturally wanted to provide, but what actually was making the difference in the family, for the most part, 90% of the calories came from women. So again, this unacknowledged burden that men often get the credit for providing for the family when it's actually often the woman. Because you're listening to Highest Self Podcast, I already know you are someone that is committed to your spiritual growth journey. You are someone that dives deep. You are someone that asks big, meaningful questions. You're someone that doesn't want to be at the shallow end of the pool, but wants to dive all the way in. And likely you've been feeling that your career really needs to be in alignment with your whole self, that you're sick and tired of having one version of you that's at home and another version of you at your job, but you're really wanting to integrate the two so you can be paid for your gifts. You can be paid to be you. You can be paid for your wisdom and actually be using your time creating a positive shift in humanity. Well, if I'm speaking to your soul right now, I invite you to come join us at the Dharma Coaching Institute. This is my school that is the world's first and only school that certifies soul, purpose, and spiritual life coaches. So over our 6-month journey together, you're going to learn everything you need to become a coach. I'm talking about how to ask people questions, how to hold space, the exact forms and contracts that you need. And then we're going to be diving into all of the Dharma framework tools. These are tools that I personally have designed that can help you help anyone find their soul's purpose. So I'm talking about the Dharma blueprint, the Dharma chakra system, Dharma journey spiral, so many different tools that are paired with somatics and nervous system healing and heart healing and all of these different tools that you hear about on the podcast actually practiced. And then in our last 2 months together, we dive into all of the business training. So how do you price your offering? How do you structure it? How do you build a podcast, grow on social media? I share with you all of these things alongside my business partners, Neetha and Ajit, who are masters in their field, to co-create this experience that will take you from maybe not fully knowing your soul's purpose to actually having a career as a soul purpose coach, helping other people find theirs. We've graduated over 1,500 students and have hundreds of coaches around the world hosting retreats, creating online programs, working with celebrities and moms and veterans and everything in between. And this really is the forefront of where coaching is heading, because the truth is, right now, people are wanting to shift. They are knowing that living the same day over and over again is not serving them, and they are desiring to step into their purpose. And that is where you come in as a purpose coach. So if you're interested, you're curious to learn more, we have plenty of free workshops coming up, different experiences, so you can actually come on a Zoom call with me and feel what it's like to be in Dharma Coaching Institute. So head over to dharmacoachinginstitute.com. That's DHARMA Coaching Institute.com. You can find that link in the show notes, learn everything there, and come join us in our spring class, which is open right now. So we only open doors twice a year. So if you're listening to this right now, that means doors are open for enrollment. So head over to dharmacoachinginstitute.com to learn more and sign up to join us in our spring cohort. And I can't wait to see you there. So I speak into this not to create a divide. I deeply honor the masculine and the men. However, if we don't look at the ways that women have been held on to these baggages and burdens that we're not even aware of in our society, then we're going to point the finger and say, well, why aren't women out there making their dreams happen? And it's because of this. Because women, they're not even given the opportunity to be able to follow their dreams. If you look at some of the best artists in the world, the ones that we know their names of are the men. If you look at any field, the ones that we know the names of, poets, musicians, any type of field, we know the men because often the women were never even given the chance to fully focus on their arts to make it happen. And then on top of that, the woman who did had to face all of just the conditioning and the looking down on from society that even when there were female artists like Frida Kahlo, she was seen as crazy, as someone who was not a good mother and not a good woman. So we're up against more to try to make our dharmas, our soul's purposes, come to fruition because of these societal expectations. And then on top of that, as a society, we just don't value feminine arts as much. So feminine arts being things such as holding space and really listening to someone and hearing their problems and making them feel safe and connected and opening your heart to them and helping guide them back towards their true selves. Or hosting beautiful dinner parties or outings and making a beautiful home. Or taking care of children and educating them and making sure that they have all of their needs met. Anything in the realm of beauty, making the world a more beautiful place, making our bodies, our homes a more beautiful place. We don't value those things as much as a society. We value things that tend to err more on the masculine. Mathematics, science, technology, because we can quantify them. But we can't quantify emotion. We can't quantify beauty. We can't quantify joy and truth. So because of this, the feminine is seen as inferior, while masculine qualities and women who err to more masculine qualities are seen as successful. So we need to talk about this, otherwise it's not going to change. It's time for us, especially first as women, to recognize the value that we carry. The fact that we really are the backbones of our families and our society. And without the feminine, we would not have beauty on earth. We would not have connection. We would not have joy. We would not have artistry. We would not have all of these incredible things that make life worth living. And yes, it comes to us more naturally due to just the feminine nature that we tend to carry. But also that doesn't mean that we have to do it because it's expected from us. It's time for us to really step into the worth that we have and that we're contributing into our families and our societies. And it starts with us, because when we begin to notice that value, that the fact that we listen to people for hours on end and really allow them to dive deeper into their truth, or we're able to help people feel safe and seen, or that we're able to take something in shambles and turn it into art, that is so valuable. And when we begin to value ourselves, society follows. So for me, the first step, I was someone that was always helping people with their problems. So the first step for me was to realize, wow, this isn't something I just have to do for anyone with problems. Yes, I am a magnet for people. Any party I go to, people pour their life story on me. But that means that I have a gift. I have a gift that people feel safe enough to open up their hearts to me. So how can I now see value in this and create boundaries around it and actually see my own worth in doing so I can do it on a larger scale? So I can do it and not feel resentful after, but actually feel like I was acknowledged, that me holding space was valued, not just expected. Because women, we are not people's trash cans to spill their emotions on, that we're just going to take it and take it and take it. And then when they're done, we're just going to go empty ourselves out on a corner. No, 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 no. It's not how it's going to fly anymore. Our space, our attention, our devotion is sacred. And it's time for us and society to realize this. So for me, becoming a coach was that first step, because it allowed me to see, okay, I can actually transform people's lives on a deeper level if I set some boundaries around this. If I don't just let them talk and talk and talk wherever I am, and I have to stop everything that I'm doing to just keep listening to them until they're done. But instead I say, I would love to work with you and support you through this. Let's set a time in the calendar. Here's how I work. Here's the journey that we're going to go on together. And that actually is what creates change in the other person's life. It's like, how many times have we had a friend that keeps telling us about their same problems again and again and again? We keep listening, we keep helping them, we give them amazing advice, and then they just get back together with that ex. But instead, if we create boundaries and we create a container and we hold more of that masculine within ourselves, that allows the feminine to flow. That allows the feminine to be revered. Because we're not just giving and giving until we remain dry, but rather we're saying, here's how I can truly give to you in a way that both of us feel more fueled up at the end. And when I started coaching, I no longer felt like everyone keeps telling me their problems, but rather I feel so inspired to help people move through their challenges. And I also know that I'm able to help people the most when I guide them back to their own truth. And me guiding them back to their own truth requires me coaching them, asking powerful questions, diving deeper into the unspoken. Because the truth is, most people have the same problems again and again in their lives with just different characters that are being played out, because there is an underlying belief that needs to be excavated and really looked at. And you can only do that when you dive deeper than just conversational and you move into more of a coaching space where you're going into the subconscious, you're going into the nervous system, you're going into the body, and you're taking people into what are their dreams and their aspirations and what's going to be invigorating and energizing enough to move through these challenges. So that is really what coaching is about. It's about really meeting people where they're at and then going under the lid of the car and seeing, okay, what has been disheveled? What has not been looked at long enough? And how can we actually now rewire this so you can be free to drive? Not that you need someone else and are reliant on other people for the solution, but rather for you to tune into your own intuition. And intuition truly is the power of the feminine. Naturally, we are more connected to our intuitions, which are both within our bodies, our wombs, our souls, but also in our spirits and our highest selves. So the way that I see spirit is the part of us that connects us to source. When we receive downloads, when we channel, when we have visions. And then our soul is really that part of us that is grounded, anchored, centered. And as feminine beings, we carry both polarities within ourselves, the earth and the sky, the star and the crystals. It's both within us. So when we realize our ability to see the higher vision and then bring it down into, okay, what needs to happen right now on this physical realm? It's truly being a doula for someone's dharma. We are taking the unseen, like the spirit of someone's dharma, of someone's soul's purpose, and we are now integrating it into manifest reality. And we are not here to do the birthing for them, but rather we are here as guides. And that has always been the role of the feminine, whether we were birth doulas, death doulas, all forms of life doula. We have been here to bring the unseen into the seen realm. And that is our gift. And that is inherently sacred. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. One of the greatest things I have done for myself is go through my healing journey, and therapy was a huge part of it. It's through really witnessing your triggers, your childhood wounds, the reason why you are the way that you are, your patterns, your limiting beliefs, that you become free. And most of us, we don't really have a safe space that we could talk about those things with. And that's where therapy and coaching come in. So I really recommend BetterHelp for people who are busy, they want to dive deeper into themselves, but maybe they've never gone to an actual therapist before. So BetterHelp is convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, it's entirely online. You fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can also switch them at any time for no additional charge. So if you're ready to give it a try, we actually have a 10% off discount for our Highest Self podcast listeners. So visit betterhelp.com/Sahara. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Sahara for 10% off. And you can find that link in the show notes. So if you're interested in learning more about becoming a certified spiritual life and soul purpose coach, to become the doula of people's dharmas, of their soul's purposes, of learning about your own intuition, whether you are a more claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient coach, connecting with other people's intuition so you can help support them to make powerful decisions for themselves. And then also for you to be acknowledged and to receive back the energy that you were so generously giving out. For you to know actually how to create a coaching container. What does each session look like? How do you choose your niche? How do you talk about what you do in a way that you don't feel this imposter syndrome of like, I guess I'm a coach, like I help people, but I guess I could help you with any of your problems, but rather, I am a certified soul purpose coach that helps corporate mothers reclaim their feminine power after childbirth. Or I am a spiritual life coach that helps empty nesters find their purpose again. So we help you really find clarity of your niche so you can feel confident and clear about who you are and who you're here to work with. Everything about pricing and how to price. Again, as women, we give and give so much that we feel bad to charge for our time and our energy and our worth. And this is such a problem in our society that even women, I've noticed, expect other women to do things for free. And the same things that you would never ask a man to do for free, it's like implied that a woman should do it just because if not, then your heart is closed and you are just such a bitch. So it's time for us to actually get paid for our energy and our time and our worth and what we pour in. And when more women have access to financial resources, we can create businesses that change the world. We can support causes that help refugees and our oceans and our climate change and our children. Like, we naturally are so connected to all of the obstacles that we are moving through as a planet. So when women have access to resources, we can give. I'm so grateful that I stepped into my abundance because now I sponsor 6 children in Cambodia, children in Ecuador, Afghanistan, so many places, and I'm able to. And we're able to support businesses that are doing good for the planet, businesses that have organic and ethical clothing rather than all these fast fashion companies that are destroying our planet. So we need to stop expecting women to do things for free just because they are open-hearted, but rather realizing that paying a woman her full worth creates a more fruitful economy for everyone, where the money is passed around to people's hands that in this patriarchal society are not. And when we step into our abundance as women, we also set the example for our children, for all young girls around the world who are, again, expected to give and give and give for free and take on all that unspoken burden of the family and still be quiet about it. We're not living by those rules anymore. Women in the United States have only been able to vote for the past 100 years. It was in August of 1920, so literally 102 years ago, that finally the 19th Amendment was passed that women were given full voting rights. In the United States, which is supposed to be the freest country on earth, we as women have only been qualified to vote for 100 years. So it's important to realize this because so often people say, well, now women are given equal rights, so you just need to rise up to the occasion, when it's only been 100 years that we've been seen equivalent to a man. And it's only in the past 40 years, in 1974, that the Senate passed the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which made it illegal to discriminate against women getting credit cards. So it has only been 40 years that women have been able to get credit cards in the United States. Before that, a credit card company could say, no, you are not financially responsible to have money in your hands, so you cannot have a credit card just because you're a woman. And in fact, in 1971, women were able to be fired for being pregnant. They were not allowed to serve on a jury. They were not allowed to get an Ivy League education. They were not able to take legal action against workplace sexual harassment. We're not allowed to decide to not have sex with her husband. And we're not able to obtain health insurance at the same monetary rate as a man. So again, this was all in the United States in 1971. And again, it's important for us to realize just how new women's freedom really is. And also the fact that in many places around the world, we still don't even have that access. Because then instead of being angry at ourselves of why aren't I following my dreams and making all this shit happen the way that men are? Well, here's why. Our freedom has barely really been given to us. And we still aren't totally free because of all of the unspoken burdens. So when we realize this, it takes that pressure off of ourselves of like, why aren't I where the men are? And instead allows us to have that compassion for ourselves of here's why, and we are going to change this. Our generation is moving strides towards higher possibilities, and feminist not in a way that negates the feminine, but in a way that honors the feminine. That we can have equal access to rights, to credit cards, to health insurance, take legal action against sexual harassment, fuck yes. And if we choose, we can stay home with the kids. We can bring beauty to this earth. We can hold space for people. And all of those things are valuable as well. We don't need to become men to be seen as valuable. Our femininity is part of our superpower. So again, this is really our time to rise into our worth, to step into our financial abundance, and to realize how inherently worthy we are. So again, if you're interested in becoming a certified spiritual life coach, doors are open right now for Dharma Coaching Institute, which is my school that certifies spiritual life and soul purpose coaches. We are recognized by the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, which is the gold standard for coaching institutes out there. And we provide you everything from how to actually step into your own soul's purpose, how to coach others to step into theirs, and then how to create a thriving business from it. So if you are interested, you want more information or to hop on a call with someone from our team, head over to dharmacoachinginstitute.com. Again, that's DHARMA coachinginstitute.com. You can find that link in the show notes. Our fall class starts October 10th. So if you're listening to this right now, there is time for you to join us and spend the next 6 months diving deep into your own soul's purpose and creating a beautiful career where you can share your gifts with others. And if you're listening to this later, you can head over to the website to join our waitlist. So thank you so much for tuning in, for being open-hearted, and for standing in your worth. You are so inherently valuable. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.